Welcome inside the RX Muscle Studios in Westbury, New York for another episode of Ask Dave, better known as #AskDave on rxmuscle.com, brought to you by Species Nutrition. Go to speciesnutrition.com, free shipping in the continental 48 states, 25% off 44-serve Isolized, and of course, our brand new flavor, Caramel Macchiato Isolized, only on speciesnutrition.com. 30-minute question and answer with Dave Palumbo. All your questions about diet, training, supplementation, things that you may be a little wary to ask, this is the place to ask it. Questions about IFBB competitions, IFBB pros, the Olympia, only weeks away. Hard to believe, but in just a few weeks, we are going to be in Vegas covering the Mr. Olympia competition. And with that, we bring in Dave Palumbo. Dave, we are now approaching that part of the contest season where you're going to get the final qualifications, you're going to get those final point tallies, and now the mental shift starts to go towards the Olympia in September.
Yeah, we wait all year for this, and now I guess the countdown starts, as you say, and we start seeing who's going to get in at the last minute. There's a lot of shows still coming up the next couple of weeks where people could qualify from Tampa, Atlantic City, Europa, and there's one out in California. So it's still wide open as far as who's going to be there. All I know is that I'm looking forward to being out in Vegas and covering the event. Obviously, it's the Super Bowl of bodybuilding, and it doesn't get any better than that. And so, in that respect, I know the fans and all the people out there are looking, towards seeing what our analysis is, what we think about the competitors, and our opinions. And great thing is, I love to give my opinion, even if people don't want to hear it. So it should be a great weekend, though.
And, of course, some major items from this past weekend, the Vancouver Pro, the NPC USA Championships. Recap available on today's episode of Muscle in the Morning, available right now on rxmuscle.com. We're going to start off in the Muscle Central Forum on rxmuscle.com. If you're not already a member, it is free to register. And with that, we check in with N. Diesel. Dear Dave, this show sucks worse than listening to overweight gurus talk about FST7 training. That is a direct shot. We're off to a mean start. What do you think about organic whey protein isolate, and what is the main difference between organic whey and regular whey? What are the benefits, if any, to using other protein powders like beef protein and vegan protein powders?
Organic whay versus regular whey. Usually these organic wheys are whey concentrates. They're not even isolates. So in that respect, if it's not an isolate, there's no advantage in my term. I'd rather have a non-organic product that's an isolate with no lactose in it than an organic one that has lactose and it's going to bother my stomach. So all organic means is they haven't used any, I guess you could say, antibiotics or anything like that in the cows, to keep them healthy. I guess, a lot of times the organic ones are raised with grass-fed. But there was a whole, movement to say, oh, you should buy whey protein from New Zealand because New Zealand has the grass-fed, whey that they sell. But you got to remember, grass-fed is great if you're trying to get good essential fatty acids in your diet. So if you eat grass-fed beef, for instance, most of the fats in the beef will have high omega-3 content. But when we talk about whey protein, they've removed all the fat. So there is no advantage in the sense that there's no omega-3 fats in there. So whey isolate is whey isolate, essentially. So whether you use an organic one or not, you're going to get the same benefits from it from a protein standpoint. Whey isolate prices are so high already that I can't see adding another layer of cost making it organic.
Let's move over now to J. Lopez 4. Hey, Dave, I hate this show more than hearing you yell into the mic with that annoying Steve Bleckman impersonation. Why cut back? Why cut back? Long question here. I'll try to read it quickly. Anyway, I've seen a lot of your videos on diet supplementation, including the one on alkalinity. Watching your video, I know you're an advocate on alkalizing the body throughout the day, with the minimum being upon waking, during training, and before sleep. I understand why you suggest not attempting to alkalize while eating a meal because your stomach releases acids while eating. So my question is, would it also be useless to alkalize while training, since you're constantly producing acid while training, and the harder you train, the more acidic you get? Would it be more beneficial to wait until after training to alkalize?
No, because think about it. When you're training, you're producing acid waste, which is causing fatigue in the muscle, specifically lactic acid. You want to neutralize that. Obviously, if you can neutralize the acidity, you're going to be able to train longer and harder. So yeah, you'd want to drink alkalinized water while you're training. That's a great time to take it. The reason you don't want to drink alkalinized water when you're eating a high protein meal is because your stomach is cranking out hydrochloric acid to help digest the protein. So you don't want to neutralize that, even though you couldn't anyway. Basically, what you would be doing is I drink alkalinized water while I eat food because I drink it all the time. It doesn't do anything when you're drinking food because it just gets neutralized in the stomach by the extreme levels of high acidity in there. But that's a good time. That's what you want. You want an acidity in the stomach during that time. When you're training, you don't want acidity. It just happens because it's a waste product. So alkalinity in that sense would be great. Now everyone knows I sell the Ion Pod and I sell the pH 9 generator. These are two alkalinizing water like bottles. I sell them at DavePalumbo.com. I sell a ton of them. I'm also thinking about Species Nutrition might come out with a new alkalinization product. It's so simple. You just put a little scoop in your water and you get super alkalinized water. I'm very, very close to pulling the trigger on it because I think it's a terrific product. So stay tuned, guys, on that.
Again, if you want to join us, you can join us on the rxmuscle.com Muscle Central Forum, on our Instagram page, official_rxmuscle, on the live stream chat box if you're watching directly on livestream.com, the chat box below. And Jake Laser, I see your question. It's a great question. We're going to save that one till the end. You can also join us by tweeting your question using hashtag AskDave or on our official Facebook page. We stay on the Muscle Central Forum and go to X1, or is it Zone? Hey Dave, I hate this show so much I'd rather take 10 scoops of Fiberlize. My wife wants to use DHEA. Is it safe to take while on birth control pills? Could I use DHEA while on 100 mgs of test enthanate a week? Also, my doctor says I don't need anti-aromatizers. True or false? My blood work is in the 1100 range of testosterone.
Well, just to address him first, if your blood work's at 1100 already, taking DHEA, which is also known as dihydroepiandrosterone, which is an adrenal androgen. It's a masculinizing hormone produced from the adrenal glands. This is the hormone that actually builds muscle in women. And it modulates the immune system too, as well as metabolism. Now, in a man who's on hormone replacement, who has an 1100 testosterone, you probably don't need to take it. It probably won't do anything. For a woman, though, 25 to 50 milligrams a day is a nice dose of the stuff, and they do notice some muscle building and some fat burning effects from it. Now, while on birth, it shouldn't screw up birth control. I say it shouldn't. Okay, that doesn't mean it won't. Okay, so I guess, I'd start with maybe 25 milligrams and see, as long as you're getting your periods regularly and everything seems to be okay, hormonally speaking, you should be fine. But, once again, as the dosage gets higher, it could interfere with estrogen. And that's always a problem, obviously, if you're taking birth control pills.
We stay on the Muscle Central Forum, and this question from our good friend iFabian. Dave, before I ask this question, now, iFabian is in Europe, and again, for those who are new to the show, we have a couple of prizes that we give out every show. For the best I hate the show, or I would rather be watching or doing X than watching the show, you win Nitralized by Species Nutrition. Now, that is only available to those in the continental U.S. 48 states. And for the best overall question, you get Nitralized, our pre-workout, as well as a Species gym bag. Now, Dave iFabian has been emailing us. He's wondering, what can we do for him if he's in Germany? He's
already gotten plenty of stuff from us already. Believe me, he's stumped the Jumbo before on the radio show. He's got plenty of our stuff already. If iFabian comes to the Olympia, we'll bring him a little care package. How about that?
There you go. So there you go. More incentive for you to come to Vegas in September. So his question, Dave, I'm currently on the Dave Palumbo keto diet, but instead of adding a cheat meal once a week that you recommend, can I spread the carbs I had planned for the single meal over the entire day? Binging isn't really an issue for me if this is the reason why you suggested to be the last meal of the day. Is 400 grams of carbs a good estimation for a 200-pound bodybuilder on this refeed?
Look, it should work, calorically speaking. I found that when you spread the carbs out over the whole day, sometimes it takes a little longer to get back into ketosis. Whereas if you have one meal, it seems to only have about a 12-hour, window of getting back into ketosis. will it work? Yeah, of course. If you spread out, you're eating the same calories. You're just eating them over a whole day. I don't like to lose the whole day. I like to have most of that day on Sunday as low carb, keeping insulin levels real low, and then just really blast the insulin that one meal, spike your metabolism, and then when you wake up the next morning, you're back on the diet again. To me, that works better. When people eat it over the course of a whole day, sometimes they don't lose weight. So you could try it. It's not going to hurt you.
Let's go to Iron Brian 82 in the Muscle Central Forum. Dave, when doing the aggressive baby-making protocol, can the women use Clomid as well as PCO? But I've read it can cause twins and even more babies, as I don't want twins. One baby's enough.
The baby-making protocol is basically 2,000 units of HCG, human chorionic gonadotropin, which kind of mimics mostly the effects of luteinizing hormone. And then it also includes 75 units of HMG, or human menopausal gonadotropin, which will cause more FSH, or follicle-stimulating hormone production. And then the Clomid obviously will also increase both of those hormones and help stimulate testicular production of sperm and testosterone. Now, if a woman were to take Clomid, it does different things in a woman's body. Clomid will cause the woman to have multiple ovulations, ovulate more than one egg. The problem is with that is if you release 2-3 eggs, theoretically you can have twins and triplets or quadruplets. So if it's the man that's the problem, because you're a guy who's been taking steroids for 10 years, I would not have the woman take Clomid. Having the woman taking Clomid is not going to make your chances of getting her pregnant better. Okay, if your problem is that you don't have enough sperm production, or they're not swimming fast enough, or they don't have good motility, that's a male issue. Don't make the woman, take Clomid unless it's her fault, unless she absolutely doesn't ovulate enough. And I would do that under the supervision of a doctor.
You're watching Ask Dave on RxMuscle.com. We're getting some great questions here. On the live stream, I see Gregory Smith, Peter Gazda, and Jake Lesser. We'll get to you in just a moment. Going back to the Muscle Central Forum, this question from PA Kodiak. I would rather slather myself in your macadamia nut oil and hire Jason Genova as my contest prep coach than watch yet another episode of Ask Dave. Most of us can agree that Arnold is one of the greatest bodybuilders of all time. If this is so, then why do we never see anyone adopting his method of training back and chest together, something he was infamous for?
Well, Arnold was the best bodybuilder in the 70s, not in 2015. So, would Arnold have changed his training had he been in this era? He probably would have. We don't really know. Arnold, like I said, looked great for that era, but he probably was 240 on stage, if that much, maybe 235. Phil Heath weighs more than that, and he's about 4, 5, 6 inches shorter than Arnold. So, here's a good analogy I'll give you. Whenever you started, think about back to when you first started weight training. Anything you did, the kookiest exercises worked. But to go back and when you hit a plateau and say, let me do what I did when I first started going to the gym, even though I know it was ridiculous because it worked back then, is silly. As we evolve and get new technology and learn new things, we have to adopt those new styles. Just like, if you look at the gymnasts from the 70s versus what they do today, those gymnasts would never be able to do the moves that they do today. The difficulty level is so much harder because the sport has evolved. And same thing with bodybuilding. So I think it's foolish to go back to a time when, Arnold was around, because back then that was good enough. Today, Arnold certainly would not have trained 2 huge body parts together, guaranteed.
Take another one from the Muscle Central Forum. This one from our good friend Kurt James. Dave, how do you respond, or what do you have to say about RX Muscle Forum's members being angry or upset or displeased at the surprising return of Christian Duke to the site?
The Iron Duke. I gave him that name. He's going to have his own forum. Look, Christian Duke can be difficult sometimes. He can be brilliant in other times. And I like to nurture his talents. For a while, he was in a bad mood. I don't know. He was mad. He didn't really want to respond well to what I was suggesting, and he left. He came back. He asked me if he can have a chance to write a few more columns. I'm of the belief that opinion columns are of the opinion of the writer. It doesn't reflect what RX Muscle thinks. It doesn't reflect what I think. Just because Christian, wrote an article and we put it up, that doesn't mean that I agree with it. Doesn't mean I disagree with it either. But I agree with the right that he has to give his opinion. And I think his articles, the two latest ones we've put up, the one about Lee Priest and Boston Lloyd, and then the one before that about, what's his name, Loveliner, his YouTube video, I think they were very well written, and I felt that he deserved the opportunity to put them up there. He also, behind the scenes, a lot of times finds guys for interviews for me, and he'll network and put people together. So I felt that he deserved the opportunity to voice his opinion on the site, and if he wanted to do the work, then I was in full support of it.
Let's go over now to the livestream.com live chat box questions. And again, before we do that, we at RX Muscle want to send our best wishes to Baito Abaspor. We know he's in the hospital right now. Dave, I believe vasculitis is what he's suffering from right now.
I think he suffered from vasculitis a while ago, and I think he's still either recovering from it or, it really knocked the crap out of him. And I guess his family has no money, and
terrible.
There's no medical insurance. I mean, it's a nightmare scenario. I mean, I tell bodybuilders all the time, and I don't know what the rules are or the laws are in Iran, where he's from, but in the United States, a lot of people walk around without health insurance, and a lot of bodybuilders do that. And I tell them, you're crazy, because if you look at Victor Martinez, when he tore his patella tendon, he had no insurance. It cost him like $35,000 out of pocket to get that thing fixed, because he had to go to a good surgeon and special surgery. So I don't care what you're doing. Get yourself health insurance. Now with this Obamacare, you can always get health insurance at a reasonable price. I don't think there's any reason why anyone should walk around in this era without that backup being there.
Back to the questions on the livestream.com live chat box. We go to Peter Gazda. Dave, how often do you eat fruits? When is the best time to have them? In my country, watermelon is seasoning now. I could eat a pound of it.
I love watermelon, to be honest with you. I'm a little lazy to cut it up and everything like that, so I really don't eat it as much as I probably would like to. Sometimes I go through watermelon, stretches where I'll eat tons of watermelon, then I won't eat it. Once again, it's the whole cutting it up thing. I'm actually growing some cantaloupes in my backyard now, so I like fruit a lot. When I'm dieting, no fruit. But since I don't diet anymore, I can eat fruit whatever I want. I actually eat, I love the little clementines, which are like the oranges that are super sweet with no seeds in them. They're like this big. I must peel like 6 of them, and then my dogs circle around me like a pack of wolves. They seem to like them. I throw pieces to them. But I think fruit's okay in moderation. I don't think you should be eating tons and tons of fruit all day. Number one, it'll blow out your stomach because there's just too much fiber in there. And it'll upset your stomach a little bit. But I think, and there is a lot of sugar in it, so if you tend to gain weight easily, probably don't want to be gorging on the fruits. The best fruits to eat are the ones with the most water, like watermelon is good. Apples are good because a lot of fiber in there. When you start getting into like the tropical ones, like coconut, mango, bananas, those have a lot more sugar in them, and those you probably shouldn't eat too much of. So stick to the more watery, fibrous fruits if you're going to pick any ones.
Let's go to Gregory Smith. Dave, what's the real difference between brown and white rice?
The brown rice has the husk on it. It has the shell, basically, which is the fibrous part of it. White rice has it stripped off, and then they bleach it. That's why it's white. It does not white by nature. So brown rice is just the more natural form of it. That's why, because it takes longer for your body to digest it, and because of the fiber content of it, it has a lower glycemic index. Because the white rice doesn't require quite as much digestion, and it's kind of processed already. It digests quickly. It enters your bloodstream quickly. You get more insulin release, higher glycemic index. So, we usually use white rice to carb guys up because it gets into the system faster. I usually use brown rice more off-season wise, or if I'm doing a diet, maybe I keep that in the diet. If I'm going to keep some carbs in, I'll do brown rice because it has a lower glycemic index, and we want to keep insulin levels as low as possible while we're dieting. That's a better choice. When you're trying to carb people up and you want higher insulin levels, white rice, white potatoes is a better way to go.
Let's go now to our Instagram questions. Always entertaining. Official_RX Muscle is our Instagram handle. The first question from _Melon Marty. Hi, Dave. This show sucks. Whose breasts are on the wall behind you? I've asked before, not sure if you answered. Tons of love to you.
We should have a contest. Whoever could post on Instagram first whose boobs are behind me will get a free bottle of Nitrolize. How about that, Sid? They're not behind you.
Well, no, I was going to say, then on the same token, whose biceps are behind me.
We've said that before. Anyone who watches the show will know whose behind us. So anyone who has to ask that question means they're not a regular of our programming. So,
All right, let's go to
I'll
Pippers.
announce it at the end of the show.
Pippers Riccio. I hate this show so much, I'd rather watch Muscle in the morning. When is Dave coming out to the West Coast? Seminars, Bros versus Pros, etc.
I will be out there, obviously, for the Olympia, which I would consider the West Coast, Las Vegas. I haven't been to California this whole year. Isn't it terrible? I always love to go to California, and I just haven't made it. I've passed through California on the way to Australia. I was actually at LAX twice on the way there and the way back, but I never really left the airport, so I guess I don't know if that really counts. But nothing's going on the West Coast anymore. Everything's on the East Coast nowadays, so there's no real reason to come out there. If someone sets up a seminar or sets up a Bros vs. Pros, contact me. We'll make it happen.
Let's go to Raitel Palea. Dave, can you tell me who was the most hard-working bodybuilder of all time in leg training? I know this is a favorite topic of yours.
Well, Ronnie Coleman is notorious for doing the 800-pound squats, the 600-pound front squats, the 800 or 900-pound deadlifts, the walking lunges with 315 on his back in the 120-degree heat of Arlington, Texas. So maybe Ronnie Coleman might be the guy who has the hardest leg trainer. I would like to think that I was the hardest leg trainer, but I wasn't. I think Ronnie was.
Let's go to Steedy86. I hate this show so much that I would rather sit on the same table as Steve Bleckman trying to give me a bodybuilding name for his magazine, while Chris Aceto and George Farrow are discussing gay discrimination in the police force, and Greg Valentino is yelling in the background about his arms because he overheard the waiter talk about oil in Bleckman's order for a bowl of olive oil and raw garlic. Very nice. I was in the hospital last year with pericarditis, and before I was discharged, they told me I had a slightly enlarged heart, which they blamed on test. It's put the fear in me a bit, and I've gone back on since. Am I worrying too much, as I believe everyone who does intense weight training has at least some enlargement, LVH? Thanks, and keep up the great work.
Yeah, I would say probably most bodybuilders out there have enlarged left ventricles, which is the chamber of the heart that pumps the blood to the body. Obviously steroid use compounded with super heavy weightlifting, compounded with a lot of muscle mass in your body, definitely will enlarge, that left chamber of the heart. Now, just because the left chamber is enlarged doesn't mean it's pathological, meaning it doesn't work right. Now, in some people who have a predisposition to that chamber not working quite right, this could make it worse. I believe Mike Matarazzo had this issue. I know my friend Anthony DeRezzo, who died, had that problem. And there's probably been a lot of other guys that that had the same issue. I know that my left ventricle is a little is enlarged. I've done echocardiograms, but it's functional. So that's the key. You want to have an athletic heart. So you want to train that. Train for cardiovascular fitness. You want to, keep an eye on it through echocardiograms. And as long as your cardiac output, the amount of blood that's coming out of that left ventricle is normal, and that echocardiogram will tell you that, then you have nothing to worry about.
We're also having a contest right now via Species Nutrition on Instagram. Again, in the Instagram for Species Nutrition, at Species Nutrition. If you go there right now, you're going to see an image of Nitralize, which says win Nitralize. The rules are simple. You have to like the post. You have to repost it using the hashtag Nitralize, and you have to tag 3 friends. We're going to announce the winners of that in a matter of 5-6 minutes.
What's the Species Instagram again? I didn't catch what you said.
At Species Nutrition.
Okay. Just reminding people. And for all those people who watch the show and like it and or hate it, hopefully you hate it, like us. We should put an unlike. Instead of we should ask Instagram if they'll give us an unlike, so that people or just.
We'll have no followers at all.
Yeah,
they'll be great.
Yeah, we have negative followers.
We're gonna go to Khalil Barak G. I'd rather be in the firing line of Greg Valentino's. Okay, wow. Then crap that comes out of your mouth. What's your take on refeed days? Is it better to have better off to have a full on cheat meal or a cheat day?
Here we go back. It's the same question we had earlier. I like the cheat meal versus the day. Day does a lot more damage than the meal. You can't really do so much damage in one meal. You could do a lot of damage in a day.
Let's go to Jake Lacer. This question on our livestream.com live chat box. Dave, I would rather enter a bench for reps competition knowing damn well I can't do one than listen to another guy list his daily food intake and ask you if his macros are okay. Spoiler, they're not. When you look back on your bodybuilding career, do you have any moments that changed how you approach your daily life?
I'm not really sure what the person's asking, but bodybuilding itself changed how I approach my daily life because it changes. It is your life. Bodybuilding encompasses everything about your life, whether eating every 2 hours or making sure you get to sleep, getting to the gym every day, even on holidays. It encompasses every aspect of your life. I mean, a matter of fact, when I was in the competition phase, where I was actually competing regularly, I mean, everything I did was rotated around, bodybuilding. I would go to Thanksgiving dinner at my relatives' houses. I was making a phone call as I was leaving for the Chinese food place to order my next meal. Most people they're done eating for the night, and I had 3 more meals left. So yeah, it changes how your whole life is conducted. But to me, that was fun. I wanted to do that. I liked it. It was entertaining. And you know what? When you're doing the sport, you wind up hanging out with people who do the sport because no one else can understand the nuttiness or the craziness of what you're doing. So when you're with other people that are doing the same thing and eating the same type of meals at the same times, it makes it easier. So, yeah, it changes your life. But I think it changed mine for the better in that sense.
Let's go back to the Muscle Central forum on rxmuscle.com. If you're not a member, it is free to register. That is where we have all our banter, all the news, all the opinions, all the analysis. And, of course, in just a few weeks when we have our Olympia coverage, the Muscle Central forum on rxmuscle.com is where you're going to want to be. So we go back to Keith T. Dave, I hate this show so much I'd rather listen to advice from a quote-unquote contest prep specialist who is 20 years old and has yet to have done their first show. What is your take on all these competitors that win a local show or place top 2 in a class of a few people, and then decide just jump feet first into a pro qualifier instead of a junior show and don't place? My favorite is when you hear, quote, it was a good learning experience. Are they delusional, actually think there is a big pot of gold waiting for them?
Yeah, I think it's ridiculous, too, because I see a lot of guys. And it's not cheap to do a national show anymore. You do the USA Championships, it's a $350 application fee. You have to buy the NPC card, which is, God knows what that's up to now. I'm assuming you already have it probably from the other show you did it. But still, that's a $300 application fee. Now you got to fly out there. You got to stay at a hotel. You got to pay for all your food, your taxis, your rented car. I mean, it could be a $3,000 weekend for all, we know. So, unless you're ready for that level of competition, I think it's a waste. It's like, you could get a better learning experience doing a local level show that's by your house than it is going out to a pro qualifier. If you go into a show and the only reason you place top 2 is because there's only 2 people in the show, that doesn't mean that you're ready to go to the nationals, okay? Now, if you go to a competitive show and you place top 2, different story. And I think a lot of people think, ooh, I'm qualified now. I got to do nationals or I got to do USA. A lot of these guys aren't even ready for a regional show of good caliber. So you got to really have people who are going to advise you and say, hey, look, you are ready, you're not. I've told people they're not ready. And you know what they've said to me? I really want to do it. I want to do it for the learning experience, like you said before. And I'm like, you know what? I'll help anyone do anything. But I tell people right off the bat, you're not going to do well at the show. Because I know what the caliber of competitor is. Now, having said that, have I ever been wrong? I've been wrong occasionally. You go to the USA. There's only 3 guys in the middleweight class, and I help a guy who I didn't think was going to do well, and he winds up coming in second. And he's like, "Well, I can play second at the USA." Out of 3 people, so it all depends on who's there at the show. But for my purposes, if you're not ready for national competition, don't waste your money.
2 more questions. We're going to take one from the livestream.com live chat box, and we go to our friend Dooley Espinal. This show sucks more than Dave's burps during the show. Thought you didn't notice. Dave, do you think that you can turn pro in men's physique naturally?
I think that if there's any division that could be done, that it could be done naturally, and I think it would be men's physique. Yeah, I think you could. I don't think it's going to be easy, especially now because the men's physique guys are way bigger than they were when the division first started. But it certainly is definitely possible, I think.
One more from the Muscle Central forum on rxmuscle.com. We go to Banks AJR83. Dave, I hate this show so damn much that when I saw you at the Los Angeles Fitness Expo, I wanted to bait you with a copy of MD, except deep down I was scared that you would have beaten the crap out of me because I can talk a lot of crap online, but I can't back it up. It's a self-aware man.
Yeah.
My question, I'm a certified personal trainer and I'm working on my bachelor's degree in kinesiology and nutrition. 2 of my clients want me to coach them for a novice bodybuilding contest. What will be an average price to charge them for contest prep, and what further knowledge should I seek to legitimize myself if I wanted to add coaching novice bodybuilders for their contests?
Pricing is so, all over the place. I'm probably one of the cheaper people out there. I've just raised my contest prep prices. I charge anywhere from $700 to $800 depending on what package they buy for a 16-week contest prep. I know most people charge, $1,000, $1,500, $2,000. If you're just starting out, I would charge on the lower side. Obviously, get use these people as your guinea pigs. Give them a good deal so they feel good about themselves, and then they'll refer other people to you. If you're really not sure about how to structure diets for people, and you might be the perfect person to take my Learn How to Be a Diet Guru seminar, which is going to be in October of this year. We had one earlier in May and June in Australia. We're going to be doing another one. You might be the perfect candidate to come in here. I had a lot of people come in here and learn a lot about that. But I would start on a lower scale of pricing and then build up as your clientele builds up and as you become more popular.
All right, with that, we're going to announce our winners. We'll start with the best I hate, and I think we really only have one solid entry this afternoon. So we're going to go with I hate this show so much that I would rather sit on the same table as Steve Bleckman trying to give me a bodybuilding nickname for the magazine while Chris Aceto and George Farrer are discussing gay discrimination in the police force, and Greg Valentino is yelling in the background about his arms because he overheard the waiter talk about oil in Bleckman's order for a bowl of olive oil and raw garlic. You agree, Dave?
I guess it's good. It's a little long.
Yeah,
I like the shorter one.
I know.
But it is very creative. I might actually.
Well, how about the one?
I would like to make that into a sitcom. Actually, that one. That was so good.
Could make a nice skit out of that.
That would be a great. If I know there's a. You know what? I know who the person is. Anyone out there who's a good drawer, make me a little comic strip of this scene. Okay, you've heard the scene. You heard Sid recite it. You can play it back to yourself. Create an image of that scene, and I will take the best one and I will blow it up and put it in my studio on the wall if it's really that good. Okay, so that to me would show me true creativity. You guys spend so much time making up crazy stuff online. Draw that picture of me. I want to see that scene. It's almost like the Last Supper with Jesus Christ, but not quite.
Well, how about the one from Banks AJR?
No, I'm going to give it to this guy. Yeah.
Okay.
Who's it? What's the guy's name? He knows the show very well, obviously.
Yeah.
He knows all the shtick that we talk about here.
It's from Steedy86. So, right. Steedy86, you win Neutralized by Species Nutrition. Email me, sid@speciesnutrition.com. Now, the best overall question, we could either go with one from Jake Laser, basically asking about your bodybuilding career. Do you have any moments that changed how you approach your daily life?
Yeah, boring.
It was one of those. You have to have the music of the. The other one was about Arnold Schwarzenegger and why more people aren't doing his chest back workout, which he was very well known for. Another one, the one on alkalinity, was a pretty thorough question from J Lopez 4 on the RxMuscle.com.
That's good. I like the alkalinity one because I think a lot of people are confused about that. So that was a good question.
So J Lopez.
Arnold really didn't have a good back, so I don't buy that one.
J Lopez 4, provided that you're in the continental U.S. 48 states, email me, sid@speciesnutrition.com, and we will get you a Species gym bag and Nitrolize. Let me just pull up the winner once again of the Instagram contest that we held again. We are at Species Nutrition. That is our Instagram. Jose X Flores. That's Jose X Flores. You win Nitralized by Species Nutrition. Email me, sid@speciesnutrition.com. We are going to have these weekly contests. Once again, follow us at Species Nutrition and at official_RX Muscle.
Johnny, can't you get some fake applause, like when Sid announces these contest winners? You can hit the button
or the music, dun 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 dun.
Well, I want to hear like audience clapping and everything like that. Next time.
Reminder. In the next couple of weeks, we are going to have the 100th episode of Heavy Muscle TV. It is going to be a loaded celebrity lineup, so keep an eye out for that on rxmuscle.com. 100th episode of Heavy Muscle TV, the flagship show of rxmuscle.com. We are going to pack it with some of the most notable names in the industry. It is the show that you are not going to want to miss. Until next week, I'm Sadiq Faruqi. Have a good one.